Hey everybody, welcome to an episode of Gameology. I am one of your hosts, Matthew Falvey.
And I'm Attila Gabriel Brunitsky.
This episode is all about progression systems / addictive nature in games and how those progression systems can cause addiction. It's interesting because there are some things that we say, this is so addictive in a very positive way, and other things like crack, that's addictive in a poor way.
Say so.
But I feel like even though... I've been really addicted to crack. No, not crack. Warhammer, playing Warhammer. I remember I went in a big phase with it, and I was, much like I am with Hearthstone, obsessed with crafting the perfect list. I would drive to work and just daydream about that list and want to try something new. And it was an escapism. You know, I wasn't really happy with my situation at that time, and this game I felt was an escape, and that can be a great thing. It can also be harmful in a way where eventually you got to face the music of it. And Hearthstone over this last week brings up a lot of those memories of crafting that perfect Warhammer list, where I have thought about this game so much in the last week and a half, and I'm so aware of these little triggers that Blizzard has in their game, where I think I need to take a step back from it. And I was kind of hoping to just naturally burn out on it, which in its way is a negative way to interact with the game. But while I'm playing it, there are many times where I'm thinking, like, this is really the greatest game of all time.
It did win Game of the Year in the first year it came out.
Exactly.
According to game trailers.
There you go. But it's... Now, if we want to talk about... Well, I mean, that's been my experience with the game, and until you've played it a lot longer.
Yeah, and I did reach that burnout point, but if you're hoping to burn out on this before any lasting damages occur, find another solution, because it took me years before I got burnt out on Hearthstone.
And one of the things that I think they draw you in with, and this is something Blizzard does so incredibly well, is it's all about progression and making you feel like your time is valuable. Now, the games are very short, so if you lose a game, it's right back into another one. When you're playing ranked play, you'll notice that as you gain the levels, you're only 3 stars away from that next level. Now, what that means is you think, I only need to win 3 games in a row, or 2 games in a row, or just one more game. However, that could take weeks. You could be going up and down 1 or 2 stars, sticking at that same level. But that is a genius way to work progression, is a lot of mini progression sliders that fit into a much, much larger measurement.
Yeah, I mean, the anytime the word progression is used, the buzzword is it increases player retention. What does that mean? It means they're creating a more addictive experience. If you think about it, any time a company decides to include a progression system in a game, it's to make it feel more rewarding without necessarily being rewarding. If you think about the games we used to play for hours on end, days and weeks, I know a lot of people when Xbox Live first came out just were playing Halo 2 nonstop. Did Halo 2 feature a progression system? I can't remember that it did. People were just playing it because the game was fun. And nowadays, it feels like a lot of developers are substituting fun with just these little Skinner box techniques, these little rewards, these drip-fed things that are actually designed to make you just want to play the game more and more, whether or not you're actually enjoying yourself.
Exactly. I mean, if you get to the point where you're one win away or one game away, when maybe inside, if that wasn't involved, you would have been like, okay, I've had enough tonight. When you're playing just for that final bit, I mean, it's like being at a job where if you're not doing your life's work, your life's passion, you are staying there because someone's told you it's 8 hours here. If you woke up and decided I'm going to mop floors for the day, I don't think you'd go 8 hours. You hit that wall, 5-6 hours in, where you just need to push through. And they include that. It's they do such a great job of breaking up that progression and hiding it everywhere, where it's 9 different classes of characters and they all have their own progression meters. They have daily quests that come up. Now, a daily quest is a very, very smart idea, because for myself, who only really wants to play Hunter, when it comes up and it says you get 5 times the reward or 10 times the reward for playing a different class, I'm going to do that. At least when I needed to get that currency, because otherwise you feel like you're wasting your time, which is a really odd concept and something that you're paying money and you're choosing to do in your spare time. Now, once they've got you on that other path, now you're seeing that the grass is greener farther away. But now that I'm playing a priest class to get that quest, I'm thinking about the cards I'm going to need for this one. So they're gently nudging you with these rewards, but then to get that reward, you end up having to spend more money, more time, more resources.
Yeah. I mean, even on a different level, like I got into playing Pokemon Go just because for no other reason than it became a nice thing to, like an excuse to go out and walk.
Yeah,
just something you can play while you're walking. But going along the streetcar to get here to where our recording place, there's an awful lot of Pokestops, and my phone needed to update, so I couldn't play Pokemon Go. And I'm like, man, I'm missing out on all this stuff. And it's like, wait, it doesn't matter. That's the way you break out of this. It's like you just have to sort of like, it doesn't matter. And that's easy in Pokemon Go when it's just a very frivolous experience. But in Hearthstone, where they've created a really compelling and fun game, it's really hard to break out of this idea of like, it doesn't matter, because you're having fun. Claiming these rewards equals more fun.
Yeah.
Therefore, you want to have more fun, don't you? We are all monkeys that like making numbers go up. Having these daily reward systems to encourage you to like crack open the game at least once a day. Everything just like rewards you for just like, oh, welcome back, and now that you're here, sit down, play a game, play 5, play 10, and we're gonna while you're playing all these games, we're gonna make your rank go up, and you're gonna unlock new armor that you can wear, or new card backs, new things that are either aesthetic or game changing. And for some people, like neither of us really care about aesthetics much. I in all the 2 years that I've been playing Hearthstone, I still use the default card back, even though I've unlocked tons more. Just because it's like I don't really want that one. I'll just stick with the basics. But I care a lot about things that are game changing, which like certain games will reward you with like better guns in a first person shooter. Cause like, hey, you've been playing the game for so long. Here's a gun that helps you like do like fire more rounds per minute, or it has like a higher skill cap than something that you start out the game with.
And if it's a competitive game, that becomes incredibly important, because it's not just for fun anymore. I mean, in a single player game, having a better gun could make getting through a level more of a different experience, more of a fun experience, more tailored to how your playstyle. But if you're playing Modern Warfare and you come up against somebody and you shot at the same time and theirs kills you in that situation, but the brilliant thing Modern Warfare did was that they would make you do just like Blizzard does. They're like, oh, you want this gun? Well, you have to use this other gun, and you need to get 100 headshots with it. And that gun might be an actual subpar experience. Like I remember grinding through that.
Yeah.
And but I had to be able to dual wield some other gun I really wanted.
Yeah, these small challenges that break up the pacing, because in a lot of these games, when you're going through the levels, it can take forever. So anytime they give you this opportunity of like a clear goal, or even just when I was playing Halo Reach, they would have these daily quests that would just grant like bonus XP or whatever that would help you like towards the overall player advancement. That became much more compelling, because it's like, oh, here's a small achievable thing that I can do on this daily basis, and it makes my number go up. And people are really obsessed with that idea. Like to the extent that you don't even realize that's what you're doing, is that you're getting this like psychological connection to like making a number go up.
True, but I think it's out of context. That sounds so silly. But in I think what Hearthstone does well, and like when we compared it to Pokemon Go, where the actual...
Right, well, I'm talking about in the abstract, but of course, like,
sure.
When you're playing Hearthstone specifically, or you're playing Modern Warfare, making that number go up has other bearings, other implications.
Well, okay, but in turn, like, if you were just playing a game and it was only a number going up, in a way that could almost be aesthetics, but when the number going up is contributes to like the competitive nature of it.
I mean, how many people played Cookie Clicker? Sometimes people do just care about making the number go up in the raw form.
And I'm afraid that's probably the majority of people playing games on their mobile phones by far. And that's just comes down to like a fundamental difference. Whereas, it's just, that's like blows my mind.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried it, so.
No, me neither.
I don't want to.
No.
Although I felt the same about Hearthstone, 2 weeks ago too. I only did it because you wanted to do for an episode of the show, and you changed my life for a week.
Sorry, I genuinely am.
Attila, I played. Let me tell you how crazy this got. I played a game in the shower.
How?
I had one hand, and I held it above the shower stream, and I soaped myself up with one hand.
I'm trying not to make a mental image of this, but oh my god! Like,
and as I was doing it, I'm like, this is crazy, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm like, this is fun. I want to try out what it's like when I replace these 2 1-mana guys. I know this is going to change my entire game. I need to try it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've had dreams about constructing decks in Hearthstone. It just like anything you play enough, and you get your brain on the subconscious task of like sorting through this stuff, and you.
Well, you want to talk about visual feedback. Yeah. That's another thing Blizzard is a master of. The game board is interactive. You can click on something. And it's not just that it moves. It's that it moves, and I swear they bring in psychologists to analyze. I remember clicking a waterfall, and the way that it rose up and then slowly faded away was just in a way... I was like, that is so pleasing, the way that it did that. It had an arc. It told a story. There was a climax. There was a fade out of this simple little thing all over the place. And it's... like that stuff's not there by accident.
I mean, we were talking about a couple episodes ago how the idea of like Hearthstone is a game where you don't have to do anything during your opponent's turn. So they included all these little hooks so that you have something to distract yourself with, because we like to fidget. We don't like to sit idly. Sometimes, like, I'm eating breakfast while playing Hearthstone with one hand. Maybe I'm like having my breakfast sandwich with one hand while I'm doing my moves with the other hand. Because I'm pedantic about not getting the screen all smudgy with my peanut butter sandwich.
Absolutely.
But in that sense, it's like, okay, I can like chew and eat on my opponent's turn, and then on it's my turn, okay, then I'll like focus on doing stuff, and then I'll eat on my opponent's turn. Or you're watching TV, and maybe like you pause and unplay during your turn versus your opponent's turn. But sometimes you are just sitting and playing Hearthstone and doing nothing else. And in that sense, having those little things on the board to keep you engaged and distracted, you're right. It is its own like psychological trick just to keep you like even superficially engaged. You're interacting with the game constantly. Yeah,
and there have been times where I've thought like, okay, I'm just gonna actually try to do something. I'm gonna put away these clothes while I do, and I'm only gonna look at it on my turn. But because I'm still so fresh to it, everything I want to see everything the opponent does, because I'm like, that's how I need to learn how to combat that. I'm sure if I keep playing this game and it's 6 months or a year down and I've seen it all.
Yeah.
However, then they keep bringing in new packs, they bring in new expansions, and it's. They're progressing their own game in the way. So it's a little scary in a way. I mean, the game, when you break it down though, the game is fun. And that's really the most important part about it. And you do not need to spend a lot of money to have fun with it. And the progression is there.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so powerful, is that Hearthstone is a combination of a game that is fun to play, and they've added all the psychological traps of progression systems. It's not in the case of like a game where like, maybe it's not that much fun, but they're trying to use the psychological traps of progression systems to compensate for it. Or maybe there are no progression systems and you're just relying on how fun the game is to draw people in. But when you have a game that is both fun and incorporates progression systems, you have something incredibly potent. I know that when Destiny came out, and
great example.
It has a lot of debacle over. There was that whole debacle over the drops in the game, right? A lot of people were playing the competitive mode in Destiny and complaining incessantly when they would finish like first in their game, and then the idiot who spent the entire game falling off cliffs was given a rare drop, and they were given nothing. And that makes people like actively upset with Destiny, but they didn't stop playing it because it was just so much fun. But when you're creating that kind of like loot drop system, I think you got to put a little more effort into like the random rewards keeps people who are not very good at the game interested. It gives them the potential, like, maybe I can just get something rare. Maybe I can get something interesting that will help and it will give me a new strategy. I don't think you ever want to, like, let's say that there's 4 versus 4, and there is like, you know, the bottom 2 people on a team, maybe you don't want to give them the rare drops. Maybe you want to reserve like some of the better drops for the better players on the team. But then on the other side of that, if you do nothing but reward the players who are consistently performing well, then you like basically fast track them. Yeah, exactly. It makes it so that the lower ranked players can never get it. So there needs to be some statistics in terms of like, make sure that like griefers and people who are like running off of cliffs all game aren't being griefer. Oh, so somebody who like actively does player kills or like deliberately just like runs up to the enemy team backwards and like feeds them kills, or just otherwise makes it hell for you to play, or just somebody who's away from keyboard. They just stood, you know, and did nothing. You want to make sure you're not rewarding those people, because my God, how frustrating would that be if somebody who has like 0 and 11, 0 kills, 11 deaths gets rewarded with something where you get nothing.
But somebody could very easily always have 0 kills, 11 deaths just because they don't have the reflexes or the skills to play the game. Mm-hmm. And I think if you always want people to keep playing it, that seems to be what they're more interested in.
Yeah.
Even if you had a system where everybody had a chance to get something good, but if you were very good or you were very poorly, you had a slightly better or slightly worse chance to have it.
Yeah.
In that sense, you're still going to get an eventual widening of the gap. Now, if you had it so that anything you would get for being like all-star killing machine was more of a cosmetic in the way Overwatch works, where you're not getting anything in it that changes the game. The core gameplay will always be the same.
Yeah, it's all aesthetic.
So it's, you know, in that way you could like show somebody that, you know, give them like a gold gun or something shiny and it says like, this guy's a real badass on a video game. But still giving everyone else the tools.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you're making them seem like even more of a badass because they're competing on a level playing field.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that makes card games so potent and dangerous, is because everything that you get, every card that you get is both like, it has the potential to be like an aesthetic update, like, oh, you might get a golden foil version of a card which has no functional difference, but everything else is a game changer. Absolutely. Everything else is like something new that you can incorporate into a strategy, or at the very least something you can disenchant or get rid of towards an even more powerful card. So that's what makes the progression in Hearthstone feel really potent, is that everything they're giving you has some bearing or impact on the gameplay. That's why your brain is constantly strategizing and thinking of new deck strategies and things you can use, because you're constantly getting these new things to be included or excluded, or this swaps out with that, and maybe I can try playing a completely new class now that I have this card, or that kind of thing. So if you're trying to create an effective progression system, you need to have a good balance of aesthetics and game changers. If you're trying to have a good balance of rewarding for just random chance and rewarding for skill, to make sure that neither the skilled players or the relatively unskilled players feel that they're never getting anything out of the game. And similarly, you need to balance the sort of timed rewards or the daily rewards with the leveling and progression system, like the rewards that come at fixed level intervals. So effectively balancing all those things will create a very compelling psychological trap in your game. I would encourage people to try to make their games fun and compelling in their own right before they even think about introducing these progression systems into the game, because ultimately they can be very dark things that don't necessarily add to the game. They just make people like miserable and like wish they could stop playing it, but they're just stuck in this cycle.
And on that note, we're going to say goodbye on this episode about progression levels, specifically to do with Hearthstone. You can find me on Twitter at GameThinkTalk. Tila?
You can follow me on Twitter at BluishGreenPro, or check out my website, BluishGreenProductions.com, where you can submit feedback to the show.
There you go. Play Hearthstone, keep clean, and if you're me, you'll do it at the same time.